Welcome to Tell Me channel. This will be the story number 2. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Enjoy. There is undoubtedly countless crimes that have occurred throughout this vast world. We may not have heard of them, but they are not far from the hands and minds of story hunters. To them, they are like a treasure that should be invested in the best way. Our story for today is one of those treasures that were and still are rich material for mystery and crime films and series. Of course, dear reader, you may think that we are talking about a bloody crime that claimed dozens of lives, or about a terrible serial killer who enjoyed cutting and tearing the bodies of his victims without mercy. But allow me to be disappointed. What do you think? Our crime today involves 2 murderers and only 1 dead person. A crime that may seem ordinary and trivial. Perhaps it was destined to be forgotten, like similar crimes that occur every day in various parts of the world. But on the contrary, it became the subject of attention of people and the press for a long period of time. So, why all this fuss? The reason simply lies in the strange motive behind the crime, and in the identity of the killers and the nature of their class affiliation and educational attainment. The heroes of our story were not among the masters of crimes and had a criminal record, nor members of the Chicago underworld where organized crime gangs battled, nor drug addicts or obsessed with prostitutes. No, they did not. They could have been any of that. Rather, they were 2 bright young men, known for their excellence and intelligence, and descended from the wealthiest families in Chicago. Leopold, 1905, was a genius in every sense of the word. He uttered his first words when he was 4 months old, astonishing his nanny and frightening his parents. He entered university at the age of 15 and graduated from it when he was not yet 20 years old. It is said that at that time he spoke 27 languages, and his IQ reached 210, the average person is between 90 and 110. However, this early brilliance also had its disadvantages. Leopold he lacked social skills, and was completely clumsy when it came to friendships and relationships, perhaps because he felt, due to his extraordinary intelligence, that others were inferior to him. He was also deeply influenced by the ideas of the famous German philosopher Nietzsche, especially his idea of the supreme man, that superior human being freed from illusion and superstition, armed with strength and intelligence, who rises above the laws and customs that apply to the rest of humanity. Richard Loeb, the other hero of our story, is called Richard Loeb, 1904. He was also smart, but he was not as brilliant as his colleague Leopold. His academic excellence was mainly due to the strict upbringing style and the restrictions imposed on him by his family. He also entered university early, and for him university was an opportunity to break free from family restrictions and indulge in a life of fun and pleasure. Unlike Leopold, Loeb was adept on a social level. He was handsome and had an attractive and lovable personality, but he was hiding another side of his personality that others knew nothing about. He was a rebel looking to break restrictions and break taboos. Thus, he became addicted to theft from an early age, not to theft itself, as he did not need money, but he found in it an outlet for the desires of his riotous soul, and he liked to sabotage and destroy things and start fires, even inside his home, and he found pleasure beyond that, the joy of escaping punishment. The university was what brought the 2 young men together, and their relationship quickly developed into an abnormal and perverted form. Leopold, who was missing friends and relationships, found what he missed in the personality of his handsome, sociable friend, so he fell in love with him and followed him like his shadow. As for Loeb, he found in Leopold an ideal companion and follower who helped him carry out his small crimes, such as theft, sabotage, and arson. However, this strange and explosive mixture of intelligence, abnormality, Nietzsche, and the rebellious spirit did not find anything to satisfy his ego in these small and trivial crimes. There were greater and more dangerous ambitions that gradually matured in the heads of the 2 friends. They wanted to prove that they are above humans. They wanted to prove that they are above humans, and not subject to human laws, and that they are a living example of Nietzsche's superior and supernatural human being. To prove this crazy idea, they decided to commit what is known as the perfect crime, that is, to commit a crime and they escape punishment completely. For several months, they were busy developing a comprehensive plan for their crime, drawing its lines carefully. It was based on renting a car using false names, then using this car to kidnap one of the rich children, provided that the kidnapped person was a boy. Then they would kill this child on the same day and throw his body in small canals or streams outside the city. Then they asked the boy's family for a financial ransom, promising to release him. It was not long before the two young men put their plan into effect. On May 21, 1924, they rented a car and started driving around in the streets of the upscale neighborhood in which they lived, searching about prey. They did not think of a specific person. For them, it was like a hunting trip. As fate would have it, at 5 o'clock that afternoon, they spotted a boy they knew well. He was Bobby Franks, the son of millionaire Jacob Franks. He was a 14-year-old boy related to Loeb. He was on his way home from school when the car of the two young men who invited him to ride with them stopped near him. He got into the car and sat in the front passenger seat without hesitation because he knew them well. The victim, Bobby Franks' soul. Only moments had passed since the car was moving until Bobby was suddenly and severely hit on the head from behind by a chisel. It is not known precisely who struck the blow, Leopold or Loeb. They both claimed that he was driving the car that day and that the other was the one who finished off Bobby. But whoever did that did not kill Bobby immediately. He was alive when they pulled him into the back seat and put someone's sock in his mouth. Then they imprisoned him on the floor of the car and put their feet on top of him until the poor guy breathed his last due to bleeding or perhaps suffocation on the sock. After they were sure of his death, they took off his clothes and scattered them on the side of the road, then poured some acid over his face to make it difficult to recognize him, and left him for about an hour in the car while they ate dinner in a restaurant. Finally, they took the body outside the city and threw it under a small arch. Then they returned to the city, where they washed the blood off their clothes, cleaned the car, and then returned it to its owner. Everything happened as planned. It was an elaborate crime. They kidnapped the boy, killed him, and took his body through the crowded streets of the city without anyone realizing it. Now it was time for the second part of the plan, the ransom. Late that evening, the two killers called Bobby's family from a pay phone. Only Flora, Bobby's mother, was in the house. Everyone had gone looking for Bobby after he was late in returning home. The two killers told Flora that they had kidnapped her son, and the poor woman immediately fell unconscious. The next morning, a postal envelope arrived at Bobby's family's house. It contained a letter. The letter included a promise to return Bobby to the house safely in exchange for a ransom of $10,000, with the amount being from old $20 bills, and the entire amount should be placed in a cigar box and wrapped well with tape.